The gift of being able to interpret your dreams. The stranger on the other side. It was a slow and desolate day, a Sunday perhaps, definitely a winter's day. It was snowing in that wet, shivery type of way, which could explain why everyone seemed to have abandoned their typical out and about mentality and had chosen rather to stay indoors with their families, warm and connected. I was outside alone on one side of a usually busy main street. The occasional car would pass, but it was only a blur. Why I was standing there alone in foreign surroundings with no obvious purpose, I have no idea. I just happened to be standing there thoughtlessly until I noticed a person sitting in the middle of a bare concrete bench on the other side of the street. That person seemed unmoving. It perplexed me that he or she was outside on such a day. I became concerned for some reason. Then suddenly I was dislodged and found myself on the other side of the street in front of the lone stranger. At that point I realized that the person was frozen, not in an ice block type of way, but frosted. Curious as I was, I reached out to touch the stranger. Gradually, the person started defrosting, and all I hoped for was that he or she would survive, or that I could save the stranger in some way, assist, make a difference. Just as I was about to see the outcome of the defrosting, whether the person lived or died, I was brought back to where I started, on the opposite side of the street. I never found out what happened to the person. I had no idea whether I even helped or not. I was disappointed and I really wanted to help, but I was unable. It traumatized me, the fact that I did not know. Ooh, that's that. I know I'm interrupting this. That's actually very interesting. I think I'm putting it a little bit out of context, but um, yeah, I suppose in a way that um, yeah, in a way, and with more sort of more to it, um, it can definitely be traumatic, or it can perhaps be experienced at least for a temporary amount of time, especially if you like understanding. It can sort of feel traumatic, or a person could go through a little bit of trauma um, with underlying reasons due to like not knowing. But whilst I'm saying this, I'm also saying, that is something that would need to be addressed, and it can be. And I just find it interesting the words there that I said, that it traumatized me, the fact that I did not know in this dream, that I didn't know, that traumatized me. And then another thing that traumatized, so-called traumatized me, was that I was unable to help. So I suppose that's not really, exactly um, specific, I guess, but I can identify there that I perhaps had a feeling of helplessness. And in what I read sort of a little bit earlier on, clearly I was feeling sort of alone and lonely, and was yearning for connection, or perhaps maybe even a sense of belonging, or perhaps I was feeling very lost and desperate. And it's just interesting, all these things. And then the choice of words, it traumatized me, the fact that I did not know. So the what I was ultimately sort of hanging on the most was that, or what I wanted to know, I guess, if I can look at this and say, um, what I wanted to know was what happened to the person. Did they live or did they die? It's almost like I couldn't accept the not knowing part of that. Now, this is within a dream, and like, I'm just reading this out of a book. So, um, it's definitely sort of um, a different kind of interpretation right now. But I'm just sort of going with the flow, and I'll just continue reading it. Um, Then I found myself in the exact same situation, yet again. Winter's day, alone, cold, stranger on a concrete bench on the opposite side of the street, also alone, very still. Again I was worried, and I found myself facing the stranger only to realize the person was frozen. Everything reoccurred exactly as before, and I would unwillingly be transported to the other side of the street again to inanely stand there. The only difference, though, in the bizarre scenario was that every time it was a different stranger. Not once did I see the outcome, not once did I know whether I assisted in some way, not once did the feeling of distress and helplessness fade inside of me. I could never find out, as it was always a different person. This process continued to repeat itself. It was almost as if I was doing something wrong. Was there a message I was not grasping? Why did I feel heftier and more traumatized each time? It was not as if I was forcing myself to do all this. I was merely there, merely doing. I felt peaked, and I did not even know whether I was even thinking clearly. Was I delusional? I do remember something significant, though. The only thing that alternated. In one of the repetitions, the stranger was different, changed in the way that he was sitting. I know it was a he because out of all the strangers, I remember him quite clearly. He was a young, dark-skinned, muscular man with wide eyes, honest looking. For some unknown reason, he was pointing in an upwards direction across the street. None of the others had done so. They were all seated with their arms down, resting against their sides. I did not try and look at what he was pointing to. I did not even turn around. Maybe I could have found what I kept on missing. But I continued on in my routine without looking into the direction that he was pointing. I reached out to him in the hope that I would revive him in some way, but as the cycle went, at that point, where I was about to find out the stranger's fate, I was painstakingly brought back to the other side of the street. This was, of course, all a dream. By the time I woke up, I felt emotionally drained. I had also been sweating. My skin was wet with perspiration, and my hair felt as if it had never dried after I had washed it. The dream felt so vivid. Why on earth did it repeat so many times? Why did it have such an impact on me? What was I supposed to see? Why did I not look in the direction he was pointing? Was I afraid? Where was my trademark curiosity? Did my emotions cloud my judgment? Obviously, a lesson must be learned here. The thing about a dream, though, is that it is not the dream itself that tries to communicate something. It is your perception of the dream that does. Your perception decodes the dream. What is my perception? In design, there is an analogy called repetition and similarity, part of the Gestalt principles. Now, an anomaly is a term used for an aspect or shape or form that is dissimilar to the rest, used to draw attention, to be the focal point. The pointing stranger was the anomaly. Therefore, he is the focal point of my perception. As I do not know what he was pointing at, I can only attempt to translate the direction. Upwards and away from where we were. This could mean that I should venture out, away from things that unnecessarily upset and emotionally drain me. Yeah, that's a good idea. You should stop being so concerned about things I cannot control and take a real physical step into a literal direction with actions I can control. I should aim higher, to the sky, to the light, towards positive dreams and aspirations, and I should read the signs on my way. And if I did travel upwards, it could mean that things would finally improve. Up could also symbolize motivation and positivity. Maybe I'm not supposed to know what he was pointing at. What if I simply had to wait and see? As Michelle said, when the wind blows, ride it out. Maybe I should take the direction as advice to move away from anything that I cannot change, anything that I cannot save. I should get away from things that I know are not good for me emotionally and physically. I should pick myself up, not put myself down. Ultimately, I think that the final translation here is that to heal, one needs to take a leap of faith into the unknown. Most importantly, one must remember to look up. And if you remember anything from this video, it is to look up. If you go outside, and if you haven't been outside for a while, I suggest you do go. And just look up. Just lift your posture, look up to the sky. You won't know what you see until you see it. What you're going to see, it might surprise you. You might see a bird flying past, something like that. But ultimately, you are looking up and you are allowing yourself to experience the light and whatever it is that is resembled in that which is greater than you, but also life-giving, light-giving, love-giving, and healing to you. And also, you know, that action is something that you can literally do. And I've done it a lot. In fact, I could do it a lot more. You know, it does take sort of trying to remind oneself to just look up, and then you just build a little habit of it. You know, just sort of like go out and check the weather, kind of thing. That may help you remember. Because so often we're walking around and, you know, we sort of the heads down, or maybe inside, you're inside all the time, and if you do look up inside, you just see a roof that is maybe not very interesting, or at least it is the same most of the time. Perhaps you could paint a mural on your roof or put some fairy lights up there, but that's not the point. Although I do want to encourage always checking and seeing and realizing the signs of hope that are out there. And it's more than just signs, but just to remind yourself to look up, and then to actually do that, to look up, and then from there you have hope. It's like an action of hope to look up. And so cool, that is it. Don't forget to look up. And I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but I want to speak about let your light shine as a concept, as a topic, as something that I want to make a video about as well. Yeah, that is a mini type of like revelation-ish. I don't want to call it a statement, because it isn't one. Yeah, it is like a let your light shine, and perhaps I should sort of actually, yeah, I'm gonna make a video trying to sort of explain what that means, to me, for me, to me, through me, to others, for others, and also what it means in my point of view for the world, or for the interaction with things that are much greater than me, just sort of taking that concept and really like um, just letting it come into the atmosphere, and giving it room to sort of spread out and grow. And possibly from there would be some more sort of golden threads to pull on, or to at least take and connect together and see what shape that takes on, um, or to see what that golden thread wants to sort of say, or play, um, or simply sort of almost like give um, uh, distance and and like infilling and leading and direction and guidance to some thoughts, or maybe it is to sort of just like quickly sew things together. I'm interested to explore that. And there are obviously a lot of writings on light, and in the Bible we've got a lot of writings on light, and there are certain scriptures which are very famous as well in the Bible, and other books as well. I'm not trying to be like weird. um, but yeah, I think that to end this off, I'll just sort of give like, think about it. What is it to let your light shine? And are you doing that? And think of another person in your life that you feel like, wow, they really do. They let their light shine, or you can see the light of them, um, sort of, or you maybe see is not the right word, but I think that you know what I mean. See as in perceive, as in sense, um, as in experience as well. And how do you feel inside? Do you feel dull? Do you feel like you have that energy to be able to shine your own light? Perhaps other people have noticed a change in you. Perhaps you have noticed a change in somebody else, maybe somebody who you would consider that is someone that really sort of is like a light, and they perhaps embody sort of some basic understanding of what it is to let your light shine, and now perhaps they seem a bit more dull, and perhaps that is someone that you could go to and say, hey, what's up, and lend an ear to, and listen a bit. um, and I think that also, if you do see a little potential of a light, you got to give some encouragement there, because if it's something in someone, in a person, something that you can sort of be kind about, and also some, let's say it's an idea, or it's some, it's add in a bit, be kind to one another, and add into that, encourage one another. So, and also add into that, like, the whole thing about like, don't let that light get dim or break or burn out. Or if there is that potential for a spark to happen, help that spark to happen. So that, it's like, we want to light up lives and make them better. We want to help people who are in complete darkness to have an opportunity to experience the light before they become consumed by the darkness. And loads of people have been. And, and even me, I've been to really dark places, and, where it's like, almost impossible to see the light, see hope, see, and you kind of, when you're in that dark place and you can't really see, and you kind of just feel like giving up. But sometimes it really does take effort from another person to help remedy that situation. And otherwise, why are we here on this uh, plan? In this whole life, why are we here all together? We need to help one another, grow. If I see a light in you, I'm gonna try and acknowledge that and encourage it, and just, and then I'm just thinking of that, that I don't want to say cliche, but I suppose a lot of people do call it cliche, but loads of people relate to the whole, is there a light at the end of the tunnel or not? Or you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, or yeah, I've heard somebody say that, it's not a tunnel, it's a cave. There's no way out of it, or um, or that there just isn't, that there isn't a light at the end of the tunnel. Then, sometimes I've thought sort of like, okay, well, then what does the person think? Sort of, if you don't think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, what do you think is at the end of the tunnel? And then do you think there is an end to the tunnel? Or is that just all sort of like subconscious talk to say, there's a tunnel, I'm in it, it's dark, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and also that is reflective for how I'm feeling at the moment. I don't see that, but I also, it's kind of doesn't matter whether there is or isn't one, because I kind of want to give up right here, right now, where I am, because it's too dark anyway, and it's really difficult to carry on. And I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel anyway. It must be forever. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to carry on. I just don't want to be here. And like, something that's difficult about that is that often and most times it is carrying on and moving on. You keep going through the tunnel because there is light on the other side. There is light when you come out of it, but you can't stop. Like, I actually think of a tunnel, and I can visualize the other side of it. We come out, boom, you're in the light. You're no longer in that darkness. But you don't like slide out there. It doesn't just like happen. There's need to be movement, and there needs to be trying. You need to try, and you need to keep on keeping on, and you need to try and this is what worked for me.